Ollie, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So we don't have anyone else here for the class, so it's just me and you. If you want to take yourself, if you want to turn your screen on, we could just walk through this, just you and I, if you want to.
Sure. Let's see here. Sorry if it's 30. There we go.
Oh, I see you. So can you see the screen and hear me okay and everything?
Yes, I can.
Awesome.
But I feel bad if you don't want to do it just for me.
I don't mind at all. Let's I did the one earlier. I think it's great content. So and it's gonna be recorded. So if anyone else wants to listen to it.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I couldn't hear you earlier, so I just tuned out.
Yeah, we were having some troubles with it, but I think we got it worked out now. So
yeah, it's happened to others before, I think. So I think it's something ongoing they'll have to figure out.
All right. So make sure. So we're just going to kind of talk through the material and we'll just have a back and forth, if that's all right with you.
I can certainly try.
I think this might be my favorite of the 6 strategies, and I'll show you why in a minute. I really like the content of the last one, yet this one I think was probably my favorite. So let's just see if I can figure out how to move the slides. Yeah. So this one's the 6. So it's Shift Strategy 6. So it's helping buyers and sellers adjust. So it's kind of just resetting expectations. And, I think one of my favorite things that I've ever had someone tell me was Adam Grady, and it was probably 5 or 6 years ago. And Adam said, everything in real estate is just expectation management. I thought that is so great. And in the conversation him and I were having, he said, you think about any time something actually went bad, it was because expectations on one side or the other were set improperly. I was like, man, that is really a great perspective. So, and it stuck with me. So this one is really great. Obviously, TCPA, don't call people you shouldn't. So helping buyers and sellers adjust, like resetting expectations. The ability to learn faster than your competitors may be the only sustainable competitive advantage. So what stands out to you when you hear that?
I don't know. I'm just thinking about what the market shift. If you if you're late, you're behind, you're not taking advantage of what's happening for the opportunity. But I don't have a whole lot of insight.
I think you used the right word, opportunity. So Jen Davis, the VP of Maps, says all the time, Gary says it, that we're in a skills-based market, right? And there are a lot of seasoned agents that are having to go back and rework their skills. So I think this quote really says it all. The ability to learn faster than your competitor may be the only competitive advantage, because we're all kind of having to, you might have been in the business 2 months or 20 years. The market changed and we have to change. So it's actually, in some ways, someone new getting into it is a good time to get into it. Good perspective.
Yeah.
So in this session, we're really going to talk about how we energize sellers, energize buyers, and bulletproof the transaction. Have you had transactions yet?
Let's see. Well, I'm working with a buyer and a seller now. We have 2 things under contract.
Nice. Great job.
Yeah. So inspections, appraisals, that's kind of where I'm at with everything.
Okay. Well,
watched my husband close a couple of them. So I have a little bit of insight there.
Nice. This might be a good time for this. And we were talking in the last session about mindset. Everything always starts with mindset. And in the last session, we really talked about like limiting beliefs. And we went into like, what were some of the limiting beliefs that we could have in today's market? Can you think of maybe a limiting belief that some agent might have right now?
And that it would be, it's just too hard to make it because there's so many people, there's so few buyers right now. There's so few sellers.
Yeah. What's another limiting belief you could hear?
I don't know. I don't have time to do something.
Yeah, those are exactly ones we mentioned on the last session. So you're right. And so it's kind of, acknowledging where the limiting belief is and what reality is. And it seems like mindset sometimes can be one of those things that is kind of hard for us to slow down and back up and stay in it long enough to really see it and embrace it, because we all go through it. We all struggle with it at some point in time. It doesn't matter where you're at in the journey, if you're brand new or you're Gary Keller himself. Like, I think we can all go through that and we all have to embrace it. So opportunity is missed by most people because it is dressed in overalls and looks like work. I love that one. So I'm sure you've heard that one a million times. It's so true though, right?
Yeah.
And so this really brings us back to the 6 personal perspectives. Have you been through the 6 personal perspectives yet?
No, I have not.
Okay, have you heard of them before?
I think my husband has mentioned them to me because he's done a lot of reading, but haven't on that.
That's okay. So the 6 personal perspectives is one of the pillars of Keller Williams, actually. It's one of our pillars of culture, actually. And inside of the 6 shifts strategy we went through, they went through each one of these. And this is one of the reasons why this is my favorite session, is because it just brings you right back to 6 personal perspectives. So the first one is commit to self-mastery. And by the way, this is a class that we teach. It's their concepts. It's actually in the book as well, the MREA, and this is a class. Commit to the 80-20 principle, where 20% of your results come from your 80% of your efforts, right? So moving from E to P. Are you familiar with that one?
No, I am not.
Okay. Actually, I think I said that wrong. 20%, yeah. So like, and it kind of go in several different ways. Like 20% of your agents do 80% of the business, right? Uh-huh. So the 80-20 principle. The E to P is going from entrepreneurial to purposeful. So we're all like, we all start with this entrepreneurial spirit to maybe different levels or different places, but we all have it. And then just by our natural ability, we'll only go so far and we'll reach a ceiling. And then to get purposeful, we have to bring in a system, a tool, a person, could be coaching, could be a system model. So that's how we get purposeful. And then being learning based and removing our limiting beliefs, and then being accountable. My room just went dark. Hold on just a second. There we go. Oh, that's funny. Oh, technology. So how about you read this one?
Commit to self-mastery. When you decide that you are going to take on mastering yourself, when you accept this challenge, you can effectively lead yourself and direct your success. Can we read the rest of it?
I'll read mastery and then you read the bottom. So mastery, start with the decision to excel at something, a decision to put the time and the effort to achieve excellence and to reject mediocrity.
Only when you have attained both self-mastery and mastery can you accomplish the goals you set for yourself.
I love that. So what are your thoughts around that?
I guess you have to, I'm thinking about time management, how you manage your day.
It could be, yeah. Mastering your schedule. Yeah. What always stands out to me is remembering that you have to be, everyone starts as a beginner though. You still have to go through the process to master something. It starts with a decision, yet I always think it's interesting just to remember we all start somewhere. It's a process. Buyer mindsets. So, it's in the last session, we talked about limiting beliefs. And, it's interesting, buyers themselves can have limiting beliefs, right? And so this was something, that, buyers might need some help with their mindset, just like we might need help with their mindset. And if we were going to go through this list right here, if I read it, you tell me, is it an optimistic or a pessimistic viewpoint? Okay.
Okay.
All right. I have choices.
I guess that's optimistic.
Okay. I can't afford to buy.
Pessimistic.
I have negotiating power.
Optimistic.
I can't buy now because interest rates are too high.
Pessimistic.
Prices may continue to go down.
Optimistic.
I'm going to miss out again.
Pessimistic.
I have plenty of time to look and buy.
I guess that's optimistic.
Okay. I can offer whatever I want and ask for whatever I want.
Optimistic, I guess.
I must buy quickly before rates go up any higher.
Kind of pessimistic. I don't know. Is that optimistic?
So let's go back to a couple of these. I can't buy now because interest rates are too high. Is that a limiting belief?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we might have to help our buyers with their mindset. Like if they say something that maybe is a limiting belief, we have to find some way to redirect their mindset. It's an interesting thought because we don't talk about very often how we have to help our buyers or our clients with their mindset.
True.
Let's do the same thing here. So my property is worth more than other comparables.
Optimistic.
Optimistic. Is that a limiting belief?
No. Am I thinking right?
I don't know. It could be worth more. Maybe it's not. Maybe you're just being too optimistic.
Yeah, too optimistic. Yeah.
My home can be sold as is without bringing up to acceptable standards.
That's a little bit too optimistic.
Lots of marketing and open houses will sell my house.
Lots of marketing and open houses. I mean, are you just asking me again the same question?
Yeah, is it optimistic or pessimistic?
That sounds optimistic.
Maybe a little too optimistic. I can't sell my home for what I need or want.
That's pessimistic.
Yeah. I won't be able to buy when I sell my home.
Ooh, pessimistic.
It will take too long to sell my home.
Oh, pessimistic.
I don't want to have to fix everything.
Oh, pessimistic.
Andy, don't be afraid to jump in here. I see you on here now.
Help me out, Andy.
So just continuing that same thought process here. So when our buyers and sellers, when we recognize they're being too optimistic or too pessimistic, maybe they have limiting beliefs inside of that, maybe there's a misunderstanding or a roadblock, right? And if it's a misunderstanding, more education can clarify to get them to reality, right? So giving the example of my home can be sold as is without bringing it up to acceptable standards. We might need to do some educating, right?
Yes.
Or if it's a roadblock, then maybe there's extra services we could do to help solve the problem. Can you give me an example of what you can think of that might be a roadblock?
Like if they think they can't fix their house up in time, you might be able to provide some contractors that could help them.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah, or you're in a repair negotiation and they want to just quit right there without even getting bids.
Yeah.
Right. I love it. And at the bottom of this, real estate done right is a service, not sales. Successful people shift always, continuously, relentlessly. High achievers are always changing, altering, and adjusting. I love that, because if we're not changing and adjusting and everything around us is, we're actually going backwards, right? Resetting expectations. So before we go any further, what would be one thing you could pull out of our conversation so far?
I'm just that what we just spoke about educating them.
Yeah.
Shape the way they're thinking.
Yeah. And you know what? That's really interesting you say that. Outside of this, something that I've always thought to myself was, my job is not to really talk you into buying or selling. My job is really to help you get clarity on what's right for you and what the right step looks like. Like, I just help you get clarity.
Yeah, that's what I should say.
Good aha, by the way. So in this market, which by the way, we're in a shift, right? To wherever we're at, the market is shifting, which is why I recommended this class. Let's see. Oh, Andy said he's juggling baby and lunch. That's all right, Andy. So talk about energized sellers. We have talked pricing strategies and staging. Energized buyers, it's creating urgency, lending options, bulletproof the transaction, keep your lender close, complete the transaction. We're going to kind of go into all of these. Maybe. So are we in a buyer's market or seller's market right now?
Seller's market.
Okay. So in a seller's market, we have to service more leads and we don't need as many leads. In a buyer's market, we generate more leads, more buyer leads, and we service less of them. So in a seller's market, we generate more seller leads, but we service more of them. And then in a buyer's market, we generate more buyer leads and we service less of them. Does that make sense? How we kind of, depending on what market you're in, how your time is going to be spent between them? Because like in a seller's market, are you going to get more buyers or sellers?
More buyers?
Yeah, and in a buyer's market, you're going to get more buyers or sellers?
Sellers.
Yeah, short version of that.
Okay.
And then this kind of goes into that. Buyer demands exceeds seller supply. That's a seller's market. A buyer's market is when seller supply exceeds buyer demand. And a balanced market is when it's equal. Are you familiar with this?
Yes.
Okay. We don't stay in the balanced market very long. It's kind of like a pendulum and it's constantly swinging. And to not as severe as a degree, it's like the stock market where it's always changing. It's really interesting, like to even keep in our own mind, like it could be changing and we're so in the day-to-day, we don't see it. Our goal is, in representing a seller, is to shift, in a shift, is to use pricing to empower them as much as possible. So what do you think they mean by that?
We have to price it right to get the interest in the property, I guess.
Oh, 100%. You nailed it. And really, like, you nailed it. I mean, you said exactly, well, that's exactly what it is. Pricing it right gets lots of attention, gets it under contract, right?
Right.
So, yeah, you nailed it.
Great.
So, have you ever seen this before?
No, but I think I can figure this out.
So, when prices are going up, we can price homes where the market, if we wanted to price the market where the market's going and the market's going up, just more days on market would sell the home. That's basically what this is saying. Time on market is that on the bottom, average home price is on the left. If we're saying prices are going up, then more time on market would sell an overpriced house, hypothetically. Agree?
Okay.
However, what if they're not? What if we're wrong?
Mm-hmm.
And what if prices are going down and you overpriced the listing? I mean, sometimes if you even price it where the market's at right now today and it goes on the market in a couple of weeks, you could already be overpriced. Have you ever experienced that?
I guess not yet.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, I have actually seen it even in the market the past year, because last end of last summer, early fall, when we started to feel the shift, the market stopped increasing so quickly, and all of a sudden there were houses going on the market overpriced. I don't know that we had a drastic drop in price, yet there was this time frame where they did pull back a little bit. So this could happen during the recession, when I was an agent during the recession, and this was 100% true during that time frame. So just we need to keep that in mind. We're going to go in a little more detail into this too.
Okay.
So, the bad thing is, if in one of the other sessions, Gary talks about how there's a window of opportunity in every listing. So when you put something on the market, you have this small window of opportunity to sell it, where the market's basically chasing you. You're new on the market. So, everybody's chasing you. Once you miss that mark and you're chasing the market, this kind of just shows you how the price reductions, you have to take a big price reduction, maybe another price reduction. If the market's going down and you missed it, it could severely impact how much your clients could get. Like it can add up pretty quickly. So price forecasting is basically we're price right and serious about selling, outthink, step out in front, price ahead of the market. So basically, it's like Wayne Gretzky used to say in hockey, like he plays where the puck's going, not where the puck's at, right?
Yes.
So we kind of just need to know, like, where is the market going? And how do we price it competitively for that market? So I thought there are two things inside of this whole session that were my favorites. And this is one of my favorites. When running comparables, the things you're looking at in your comparables are the location, the size, the amenities, the condition, right? Like, I love that. The thing, though, that I think is genius, Ben Kinney used to have, at my family reunion, he used to have a class on how we would do a listing presentation. And this is what he did in his listing presentation, is he would sit down at a table with a client and he would say, here are 5 sold comparables. He would say, here are 5 under contract comparables, and here are 5 actives. And so then it gave them a chance to see, where's the market been, where is it at today, and where is it going to be in the future, right? Yeah. I thought that's a really interesting way to look at it. What do you think?
Could you say that one more time?
Yeah, well, so what do you think about that? What are your thoughts around that?
I that's interesting to me, because that kind of gives them a bigger picture. That's what I like about it.
Yeah, I thought it's just genius. And to some extent, this is what, whenever I'm looking at comps, this is one of the ways I've always done it too, is look to see what do the solds look like, what are the under contracts look like, what do the actives look like. So.
Yeah, very good.
I love this. So the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. So can you give me an example of how a seller would be in denial?
I mean, they want a certain price for their home and it's not worth that in the market right now.
Yep. That's true. I completely agree. What about anger? What's an example on how a seller could be angry?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, is it like the appraisal or the inspection didn't come back the way they wanted it to, or are you thinking of something else?
I know you're right. Those are examples. Could just be, hey, I'm not selling it at that price.
Okay.
I mean, the funny thing is sometimes the anger can be directed at the messenger, unfortunately. Even if like you, in your example, the appraisal, we have nothing to do with the appraisal. Yet, you know, sometimes they take it out on the messenger. What about bargaining?
I don't think I have a good example of that.
So I know I want 300,000 for my house, and you're telling me my house is worth 250. How about to do a price reduction to 275? I'll take 275 for it. I could bargain with you. No, I'm not doing those repairs. I mean, I might come down 1,000, but no, not doing it.
Okay.
Like I might deny it. It's not possible. Then I might get angry. Then I might bargain with you. Okay, I'm bargaining. And then depression. It's funny, like our clients go through this.
Makes sense.
No, it's kind of silly and it's true. Staging helps sell homes 3 to 30 times faster than non-staged homes. You know what's interesting is there are actually some companies, and I'm not saying right or wrong or do it or don't do it, they do virtual staging.
Interesting.
Yeah.
He's talking online?
I've got one person, 2 people online, so I'm just hosting a class online.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll leave you at it. Keep shifting away.
Hi, Shanna. Is that you?
Who's that?
Holly.
Hi, Holly. Learn all the things and then tell me all about it.
Okay.
Very interactive. Her and I are just having a conversation about it.
She's the best. Don't tell anybody else I said that.
Yeah.
Well, it is recorded, so. Anyways, it's so true though. Like if you have a vacant house doing some staging, it does make a difference, especially if the market is shifting a little bit.
Okay.
You know, I had one of my personal houses this last weekend, rental house, and it came vacant. I think we spent like $150 on staging, and I mean, made all the difference in the world. And it didn't cost that much.
So you spent $150 on staging, just using their own things?
Well, I had a vacant house, so my wife went and so my wife went and bought some plants and stuff to put around. She just did small staging around the house, short version. So okay. It wasn't a lot. And speaking of what you would do, here's kind of the formula: plants, paintings, and pictures.
Okay.
Or fixtures and furnishings, right? So like in my example, my wife went and bought some plants and put around the house. I think she put a mirror above the fireplace. And we had just repainted the house. And like on the kitchen counter, you know, she put a few things like plates and stuff like it was set up for dining. Just little small things like that, and a hand towel in the bathroom and a plant, just little things like that. It wasn't anything that costed very much money. It just made a lot of difference. So
yes, we did that with my first listing. It was a house that had been completely redone. And so I just brought in some simple things to put like around the fireplace, make it look cozy, and things in the bathroom and kitchen.
And there are companies now that they can take your pictures that you have and then like put like a dining room table there in the picture. Okay. Like they can actually virtually put stuff into your pictures. It's kind of neat.
That is neat. You just get that online somewhere?
I haven't personally used the companies. I know there are some companies out there that do it. So I think they're kind of pricey. So okay. It would have to be a very expensive house to justify it, but. I love this quote. If someone's going down the wrong road, He doesn't need motivation to speed up. He needs education to turn around. I love that. So true, right?
Yes.
Have you heard the myth of timing real estate, like for a buyer to time the market?
I haven't heard this, no.
Okay. So buyers a lot of times think that they can time the market, right? Have you ever heard that? I'm going to buy when the market's down. I'm going to sell when the market's high. I think the market's going to go down farther. I think the market's going to go up higher. Like our clients say these things, right?
Yes.
And the reality is we never know the market has reached bottom until after it's already reached bottom.
Yeah.
Like if we were sitting in person and I were drawing and I were going to have you tell me when to stop, you couldn't time it exactly where the bottom was because you don't know. Right. So the myth is that we can time the market because you can't really time the market. This is the second thing that I was saying that I really love about this material is we talk about ready, willing, and able. And this goes actually into a little bit of detail in defining what is a ready, willing, and able buyer. And an able buyer is someone that has cash or they can get financing, right? Ready means they actually have personal reasons. And then the willing part is they have expectations that are realistic about the market. Like we've helped them see this is what the market looks like, and you're willing to play in this game. You know, as an example right now, I don't know that you could go and lowball a house and get it bought.
Okay.
Do you agree with that?
Right.
Yeah. Or if a seller said, I'm going to list it 10% higher than what the market says because I think it'll bring it right now. Would it bring it? Probably not. So willing is really the market expectations. The being ready is the personal reasons. And then to go back to this, the real time, the best time to buy is when you have personal reasons.
Okay.
And this applies for everybody. I thought this was great. Ability always comes first. The ability and cost of money can shift quickly. Creativity, financing can become necessary. So the ability, like, are they credit worthy? Like to be able to get financing, you have to be credit worthy. So I mean, that's pretty obvious. And then here's some ways to energize buyers, urgency. I like this. So become the local economist of choice. We're all trying to do that. Just knowing the market, knowing what's sold when you're talking about, if they say they want to be in a certain subdivision, understand like maybe a house that's sold over there or what is selling over there. Probably the number one thing, if you got anything out of this, helping them tap into their why at a really deep level helps with everything. It helps you to convert, it helps to connect. I mean, the really understanding their why at a high level allows us to help them actually. So, and really a buyer reluctance or objection is just helping them overcome their fear, really. I mean, if you don't do this every day, it can be scary. And it is our job to help them get clarity. So, and then create a best buy list. Have you ever done that before?
No, I haven't.
So like, what are the top 5 houses or 10 houses on the market that are the best deal?
Okay.
Interesting. I mean, like hypothetically, if you put a Facebook post today that says, send me an instant message if you want the top 10 best deals for houses in Springfield, Missouri. And do you think anyone would respond to you?
Maybe so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just powering through this. I believe anything is possible in any direction. I strive for the possible. I go after what I want to have happen, but I prepare for the worst and I'm ready. And I am ready should things go wrong. I love I love how Gary just says, basically, things can and will go wrong. We need to be prepared. It's a short version. If you read the Shift book and he talks about bulletproof your transaction, that's what the whole thing is about. So so I'll have you read this and I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay, let me move something. Okay, there are 4 ways you can think about what might go wrong in any professional endeavor. Number 1, nothing will go wrong. Number 2, anything could go wrong. 3, something will go wrong. And 4, everything will go wrong.
Which one should we at all times which one of the 4 of these should we be thinking?
I don't know, maybe number 3, something may pop up.
So Gary says we should be thinking number 4.
Okay.
Because if you're prepared for everything to go wrong, then you already have a solution for everything.
Okay, makes sense.
The 6 issues to bulletproof any transaction: the inspection and repairs, appraisals, loan approval and funding, contingencies, your co-op agent, deadlines. These are really like the 6 areas. Now we could dive really deep into each one of them. And like, these are the main areas. If we're proactive rather than reactive, we can make sure that our clients are prepared. Let's go back. You know, if we have the thought, everything could go wrong with inspections and repairs, how are we prepared for it? How have we prepared our clients for it?
Okay.
Appraisals. Everything could go wrong on appraisals. How have we prepared our clients?
Can we talk about that one?
What's that?
Can we talk about that one a little bit?
Yeah, please.
So right now, I did have someone completely redo a home. Is gorgeous, and someone minus some concessions made a full price offer, but we were so concerned about the price they wanted to list it at that we had an appraisal done before we even listed it, and they still listed it for like $25,000 over the appraisal. And they got it, less a few $1,000s of concessions, but I know the appraisal's probably not going to come in at that number. So, and we did our very best of managing the expectations from the beginning multiple times about how this could still be impacted after we received, because and in fact, it was a USDA loan, so they're getting 100% financing. So we're probably going to have to negotiate through that. How do you propose dealing with that?
So let me back up for starters. Do your comps that you pulled support the list price?
No.
Okay. Do your comps support the first appraisal?
It came in a little bit higher than what we expected. So,
okay.
Yes.
Okay. So if this appraisal comes in too low, what are your options?
Hopefully we can negotiate a new price.
So give me all the options. So you're not attached to the outcome for a moment. What are all the options?
Well, I mean, the buyer could come up with some extra cash.
Okay. Buyer can come up with extra cash. What's another option?
The difference. We negotiate a different price.
Okay.
Come down. Or what else? You help me out. What else can we do?
When you say they can come down to what?
The appraisal price.
Okay. So the buyer can come up with more money and leave the sales price the same. The seller can reduce the contract price to the appraisal price.
Mm-hmm.
There are 2 more options. What are they?
Well, I'm new, so you tell me.
So the contract could fall apart, right? Buyer and seller could just choose to walk away.
Yeah.
It's possible. Now, granted, if the seller has had 2 appraisals and both of them didn't come in and value, then maybe we might say that they're going to have to deal with this regardless. Third option, we could meet somewhere in the middle, right?
Okay.
We could find somewhere between the appraised price and the contract price, and maybe the seller comes down some and the buyer comes up with more money. So those are really my 4 options.
Okay.
Now I say that, now if we're already into the transaction, the best we can do is prepare our clients. Here are the 4 choices you are going to have.
Okay.
And just lay it out. Here are the 4 choices we have if and when that the house doesn't appraise for enough money. And then when that time counts, you just say, here are your choices. What would you like to do?
Okay. Very good.
Yeah. Now, in the beginning, if you're listing it and someone lists it for more than your comps, you could share with them, this would be a concern I have. Or there's also, you can put in a contract where there's an appraisal gap. Okay. So hypothetically, let's say you listed it for $20,000 over the appraisal price. You could make sure that a buyer has a $20,000 appraisal gap where they'll cover if the appraisal doesn't come within that. So there is that option at the very beginning. So when the market like went nuts back in 2022 or 2021 range, we were doing that on contracts. So don't see it as much now, yet that is an option. So.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Yeah. And I think really just like we talked that out of what are all the options and what are the possible solutions, we could do the same thing with all 6 of these.
Okay.
Now imagine if you're the seller and I just laid out your options. Here are the 4 options you have. Did I raise your emotion or did I reduce your emotions?
I mean, I assume reduced them.
I would assume that.
Pieces.
I would assume that it reduced them, yeah. So that's one way to reduce the emotion of the conversation or the situation when someone just knows, here are all my options.
Okay. Okay.
And so like we're talking, being proactive, early response, you know, if we know the appraisal is not due back till for 2 more weeks, we make sure our client knows, here's the exact day that the appraisal is due back. I don't expect to hear anything before this date. As soon as it comes in, I'll let you know. So that way they're not calling you every day saying, hey, Holly, when is my appraisal? Have you heard anything? Mm-hmm. No, it's actually, it'll be back on May 1st. So usually not always, whatever the day is that the appraisals due is when the lender gets it. Rarely is it early.
All right.
So what are some of your takeaways? What are some of your things you're pulling out of this conversation today?
Lots of good things. I'm not good at remembering them all. Let's see. Sounds like just managing expectations is important. Good communication, laying out all the options. And the one part was good, just allowing them time to go through the different stages that they might be experiencing with their emotions.
Oh, the stages of grief?
Yeah, because if you give them enough time, they might come around. You know, they may say something in the moment, but with a little more time, they may become more agreeable after they get to the acceptance phase.
And that is so true. That is really true. And, you know, also remembering like they're human, so they're going to have emotions.
Yeah.
And that is a really good takeaway. Action plan. So do you know the areas where if you were to pull something out of this today from what we've talked about and create an action plan, like, do you know where, like you would say, here's where I think I would need to work on the most to get better? Like, is it, I know my goals, my strengths, weaknesses, and how I work with both, seek and master the knowledge for my goals. Like, is it around your goals or is it around pricing, helping sellers price? Is it like helping to create urgency with buyers and sellers? Is it like understanding the financing options? Is it bulletproofing your transactions? Like if you were to name just one of them, like this is the top area where I think if I could work on this one area, I could get 1% better. Which one of those would it be?
Maybe 3.
Okay. Around creating urgency?
Yeah, what exactly does that mean? I know how to address buyers' urgency and work. Let's see.
So basically going into, I mean, really how you're going to create buyer urgency is to go into their why, understanding their reasons for why they're going to move. And that's the best way to do it. Understanding like, what are the objections that they're going to give you? You know, in all honesty, like you're only going to hear so many objections and then they just repeat.
Okay. I need to practice how to handle those. Something I need to focus on.
Have you ever written out all the objections that you can think of?
I've written out some, but not all.
And you know what's funny? Like if we know that we're only going to hear so many objections, like can you give me an example of one objection you might hear?
For a buyer?
Yeah.
I can't afford what I want, or.
Okay. So if the objection is I can't afford what I want, are you prepared to handle that objection?
I don't know that I need to get all my answers laid out. I mean, I might tell them that we might be able to find something that fits 95% of what they're interested in and would meet their needs. Mm-hmm. But you tell me what the better answer is.
Well, I appreciate that. And I was just pointing out, like, if we know we're going to hear that objection, right? We know at some point in time we're going to hear that objection. Why don't we list out all the possible things we can do or say in that moment, and then practice that, like a role play it with another agent, because we know we're going to hear it. It's not an if. Like we know we're going to. It's kind of like when, do you have kids? I don't know if you have kids.
Yes.
You do. Okay. How old are your kids?
Oh, they're getting older. They're 18 and 20.
18 and 20. Okay. My kids are in that range. Mine are a little bit older. I remember when I was teaching my oldest to drive, and I remember telling him, keep both hands on the wheel and be prepared if that car in front of you slams on the brakes. Like I remember telling them, you have to put both hands on the wheel, quit playing with the radio. You're not texting your girlfriend. Like pay attention to what you're doing, because it's not if that's going to happen. It's when it happens, are you prepared? And this is kind of the same way. We know we're going to hear it. It's just like teaching my son, where I say, at some point in time, the car in front of you is going to slam on the brakes. And if you're ready, you know what you're going to do, then you're going to be okay. And we're kind of in that same boat where we know we're going to hear the objection. If we have maybe, like, I'll tell you something I've personally done is I would take whatever objection I would hear. I would write 10 or 20 questions I could ask in that moment. And then I would pick 1 or 2 that I really liked. Okay. And then I would test it out. And I would role play it until I found one that would just work. And then that way I had this arsenal over here where I could pull from at any point in time.
I like that. That's good. So you respond with their comments with more questions.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times I just need more clarity. I mean, when you say you can't afford what you want, what makes you believe that?
Okay.
I mean, what's important to you about the house you're telling me you want?
Okay.
I would probably just go straight to questions to gain clarity, right? To go back, remember we were talking about clarity earlier. Anyways, I think we're too far back. But so that could be a potential action plan for you. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about sellers feeling an urgency to sell?
Okay.
Do you need to get to their whys? Make sure they have a personal reasons that they're willing, able, and ready?
100%.
Okay.